and I didn't know this, Samir Labriny.
Wow.
Is that
Perfect
it?
pronunciation, yeah. You did.
I didn't know you were Italian.
I've been telling you all along.
Okay. Anybody else? Here comes another one. Good. Anyway, when and where were you born?
Again, Samir Labriny is a combination of different cultures, and I'm glad I was that way. I was born in Morocco, Casablanca, many moons ago. I was very fortunate to be in an area where a lot of the Spanish influence from Spain, a lot of influence from Europe. I was born right after the independence of Morocco. The French just left. The Americans were a fantastic support for the independence of Morocco, which a lot of people don't realize. Today, we'll be mentioning a lot of things that it's not even talked about or spoken of. It's just because of the media can highlight certain things and not. First of all, thank you for coming and supporting me in today's interview with Stan. I appreciate it.
Do you have siblings,
Absolutely.
brothers, sisters?
Yeah. Oh, see. Now, today's interview may not be the same pattern you've designed it in the past. It's just because I've had 6 million, now there's 6 million and one interview. That's I like. The siblings, and I am from a family of 7, 2 girls, 5 boys. One recently passed the day I started here. It was a pretty sad day. However, the siblings, I am the oldest of the whole clan. And I think that was a great fortune for me to be the oldest.
Why?
First of all, when I said 7 and I am the first, I could only remember my mom being pregnant, having a baby here in her hand, and once she's going like this in the crib so he can be quiet, or she can be quiet. So it was a difficult time. And the reason I say I'm fortunate because when I stood next to her, and I was about just a little bit less about than 5 inches from the actual height of the stove, and I'm like, Mom, what did you put in there? So I've asked a lot of questions as she was cooking, and I think I'm fortunate. That's why I said I'm very fortunate. Because my first meal cooked to all the siblings, I was 12.
What about your parents? Where were they born?
My dad is a descent of French, Italian, and Moroccan. So he's a mix. Now, the Italian part, which you've noticed on Labriny, when the French came to Morocco, they actually wanted everyone around in Morocco to be French. So if you had a name that was from somewhere, let's say an Italian name, when you go get your paper at the prefecture or the community where you're gonna be registering, they will make sure that that name is either French or slightly French. So Labriny with an I was not appealing to them. So they added a Y at the end. Labriny. So there you go. Mom is 50% French and 50% Moroccan. So again, I really benefited from the Mediterranean climate, from all aspects. The language or languages, the foods that being presented, and the culture and the attachment to the family. When you are talking about Morocco, there are two things that will stand out. One is hospitality. Immediately you'll notice it as soon as you land at the airport. People are very hospitable. And the second one is the sense of family. Very attached to one another.
Talk a little bit about your parents' education and work history.
Oh. Well, I hope you'll forgive me. I'm going to be talking about you, Dad. All right. So, Dad grew up, like I said, in the French era, more than I did. And he was a very hard worker. And he could always tell me, Samir, you know, the street we just left and we passed by used to be your grandparents. Wow. This neighborhood used to be your grandparents. At one point I said, Dad, show me the map of Casablanca and tell me where do we belong. And quite frankly, and I'll say this in this forum, at one point, 1952 and before, 1/4 of the city Casablanca used to belong to my family. So that tells you a little bit of the pressures. The evening of the independence, the family lost everything. All the land converted to the government. So you can see at one day you are the king and the next day you are the shoemaker. However, that didn't tarnish anything on Dad's mind. He continued. He was working for a French company and he did very, very well for himself. Very educated. He claimed really fast through the ranking of that company. It was an insurance company. He did, his main focus was investigative work, where let's say, for instance, somebody said, I had an accident and my car was coming this way and that way, and I worked with him one summer where he was trying to do, he would take all the graphs and he would try to say, well, the car was coming this way at 60 miles per hour, and this person here is walking at not even half a mile an hour. How could he be here? And he would do the math and the calculations. Well, he went from that to fire, frauds, and he became the chief inspector for all the frauds that are, you know, being claimed through the country of Morocco. So he had a very visible, notable position. Unfortunately, at one point, he lost one eye, one sight, and he decided he's going to be retired at the age of 56. Mom, on the other hand, if she left the house for like maybe 2 hours, there'll be a riot in the house. I mean, 7 of us, there is no way she's going to be anywhere. So either she was cooking, she was teaching somebody something, she was singing a lullaby to a little boy or a girl to put him to sleep. Mom really did, and I would say, if I had to do I would have to give a quantum, a number of who worked how much for the family. Mom did 90, Dad did 90%, Dad did 10%. He was not a contributor for what's happening in the house. However, he was the supply for the happiness from outside the house.
Is that common in the culture at that time?
At that time, it was very common. Very lucky for my parents. Both of them were educated. They weren't kind of like illiterates, where you would probably see that in Morocco in the 50s and 60s, up to 70s. And of course, because of the French, I don't want to say colonialism, but protectorate, how they call it. There were a lot of schools built during that time, and a lot of people were engaged in going to schools. So nowadays, if you are in the streets of Morocco compared to 20 years ago, a big, huge difference. Almost everyone speaks English on the street, or at least they'll understand some basics. French is the first language spoken. Then there is Arabic as another language. But I don't forget to mention Morocco, geographically and historically, is 75% Berber. That's another language altogether. The Berber are the natives of Morocco. Then we had an influx of the Arabs from the Middle East coming into Morocco. And then, of course, I'm not going to forget, Moroccans have occupied the southern part of Spain during the Andalusia time, or the Moors. Now, if you go to the south of Spain, you will notice the structures of the buildings and the architecture is 100% Moroccan. Cordoba, Sevilla, Malaga, and so forth. And again, very small space of land. It's almost the size of Morocco, is the size of Florida. However, as far as culture and as far as the history, it's so rich, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Well, that's understandable with the different other countries that
Yeah.
impact. What was your schooling like?
First, I was again very lucky. My parents wanted me to learn, master, and understand the French language, not just speak it. So I went to a Catholic school on first few years of my life. The nuns were very nice to me. I don't know about some other folks, but they were good to me. I learned a lot. They were very caring. From there, I went to not public, but semi-public. And the reason is, Dad didn't want me pampered. He said, I want you seasoned. And the way he meant it is, you were here with the nuns, and they took such a good care of you, and we paid so much money. The siblings, by the way, need that money. So we're gonna engage you in the, in the schools of the culture, and let's see how seasoned you're gonna be. I guess I did well, because from that I went to technical school, and I was selected. There was only at that time one technical school in the city of Casablanca, and I was selected to go there, one out of I don't know how many thousands of people, and the class was only 36 for the technical school. So I was very fortunate and happy. When I did my baccalaureate, which is the high school, it's not the bachelor's, it's the baccalaureate. When I did that, I was in technical school all along, for School of Technology. When I decided I wanted to pursue, I was studying German just by coincidence, and after 4 years it was actually evening classes. This was not within the program, because I was being seasoned, remember? I was being seasoned, but I had to escape the seasoning in the daytime, and in the evening I would go to German school. And I did that voluntarily, because I liked the language and I felt it was nice. It was the Goethe Institute, and some of you may probably know or heard. The Goethe Institute is a fantastic organization as far as what they do to promote the culture and the language. At 4 years at that school, I received a scholarship to go to, this is the baccalaureate and the scholarship at the same time. They said, okay, you're gonna go now to Duisburg. There is a School of Technology there where you're gonna study. Okay, I took it. I went to Germany, and after maybe 8 months, it was very difficult. I arrived there probably around this time. So it was October, November, because the school starts in September. So around this time I was there. And I remember vividly that Germans, they party a lot. And I felt, wow, this is a great group to belong to. So there was no technology at the time. It was, let's party on the weekend. Then it became, let's party every evening. And one evening, I remember particularly, was a long weekend, and I paid for a very, very cheap flight to Iceland with a group of students, and I ended up in the fjords, by the fjords, and everybody's sitting. All I remember is I was sitting in pool of water, like I couldn't even remember a lot of details, but all I could remember is the fjords, everybody's getting drunk, and I'm up to here in the water and thinking the same way. And that's what I remember from that trip. So Iceland was beautiful. But I will go to it again if the opportunity happens. So let's go back to education. When I came here I got an invitation to come to the States by my cousin just to visit. I ended up in Virginia, and this is now 41 years ago. Okay? So I went to English school because I didn't speak English coming in here. I spoke Spanish fluently. French, of course, is like a given. I spoke German because I studied it, and I spoke Arabic, and I understood some Berber. So at that point, you know, I thought, okay, I mastered this. When I landed in New York, JFK, I could only say yes and no, but never know when to use it. So I didn't engage a lot in talking to people. I just left it alone. I went to school to learn English, and again, I think I must be lucky because I meet people like you all the time. I met this great teacher that said, Samir, you're gonna do this. However, my advice to you, aside from the classroom, and if anybody that has taught English will probably tell you this, if you wanted to learn the American language, watch the shows at night. And I tell you, I could learn English to write and read. I can never know what is the actual concept of dialogue, dialects of the spoken American language, which, for instance, if I tell you, Stan, how was your lunch? Take it easy. Okay, this is one way. It means take care, right? Then maybe I stumble into Stan and say, hey, take it easy. Okay? Then, you know, all those little double meaning or triple meaning words can be very frustrating for somebody that just came here to, you know. I was talking 41 years ago, as of last night, I was talking to my daughter, and I said, well, it's going to be a tough year, so the clothes that I had, I would have to give him to somebody who is younger than me to take. I was just talking. And I said, well, honey, do we say the clothes, is it hand me down or hand me over? And she said, why? And I said, because from understanding the logic of English, I would say, I would hand it over to somebody, not hand me down. That's not good. She said, no, Dad, you have to say hand me down. So, again, the fun of learning English up to today, I still challenge it and listen to it and try to understand it.
Tell us about when and how you met your wife.
Oh. She couldn't cook, she needed me. All right. I'll tell you, Hannah is really a wonderful, I have to mention that I was married twice. First wife, I met her and we were in the train. In the metro in DC, if anybody knows the area a little bit. So I was coming from Georgetown going toward Roslyn. And I looked this way and I saw from distance, this lady is reading a book, and on the side it says, learn French in whatever, learn French. I'm like, aha. My opportunity to talk to her. So I got like closer to her, like 2 seats. Now, if this scenario happens today, she would call the police, right? Things happened back then where things, a lot of peaceful, more peaceful. So we're talking about 40 some years ago, but so anyway, I said, "You studying French?" She said, "Yes." And probably that was the most I said in English. Remember, I just got here. So she said, "Oui, je suis en train d'étudier le français. Pourquoi?" She's asking me, "I'm here to study French, so why are you asking me?" I said, "Because I would love to see if I can help you. That's my first language." And that's the start. Now, after several years, I had Adam, well, me and my wife, because I could never have a son by myself. So we had Adam, who is now 30. He teaches finance and economics in Japan. And we have Sarah, which I talk about all the time for folks that do know me. She's very close to me, and we talk a lot. So, Then I got remarried, and how I met my second wife was a lot easier than "Do you speak French?" We're talking about the culture of Morocco, because she lived in New York almost all her life, and somehow I found out that she is Moroccan. I'm like, okay. If you meet my wife, you wouldn't think she is Moroccan, but that's because people in their mind thinking Moroccan is somebody who is dark skinned, who's tall, and we have all rainbow of colors in Morocco, just so you know. We have all heights. And if you ever visit Morocco, you'll see it. Everything I'm saying here, just remember it, because you will see it. We have all colors, all heights, all sizes. So this lady looked European, and then finally, in fact, I did find out that she's a Spanish descent from Spain. Wonderful lady. We have 2 kids. I inherited 2 kids. Ben, who is an officer in the Navy, and we have Nadine, and she owns the house. Nadine is 15. She runs the house. So if anybody that has a little one, so 30 and 15, 30 hardly talks to you. Then you have the next one that talks to you just to check, make sure. Dad, did you get your medication? Don't forget your appointment. And then you get the other one who's absolutely silent. I'll have to call him, Ben, are you alive? That's the message I leave him, and then he'll answer me back. Yeah, I'm still alive. And then you have the little one, which is, what do we have for dinner? You cook it. So, but she turns out to be really a wonderful child, because if she's not in the house, it'd be boring. And me and my wife, we spend time in doing a lot of things that are, for both of us, needed. Like on the weekends, we go out. I don't drive fast through the neighborhood. I want to walk the neighborhood so I can see the roses, I can see the plants, so I can see everything, because I want to enjoy life that way.
You mentioned your education.
Mm-hmm.
Where and when did you learn to be a chef?
See why I gave you the first basics, 5 inches from the stove? That's because I was intrigued by mom's cooking. When I came to the States, as I mentioned, I had to learn English. Guess what? I had to support myself. I didn't count on my dad to send me money. He gave me one-way ticket to the United States. One way, seriously. Because he considered if you don't make it, you are a failure. That's a lot of pressure. And he said if the first arrivals of communities went to the state and they made it, you could do it too. That was very tough. But nonetheless, I thank him for that, because I'm here and this is home for me after all these years. I learned first English. I had to pay for it. And in order to pay for it, I had to work in kitchens. I want to say that after several years, I've probably worked or managed almost every other restaurant in Georgetown, in Washington, D.C. So I would work 2 jobs sometimes to pay for that school. However, Like I said, I had a fantastic teacher, would always remember, wonderful man, and he was great help. That I probably took, anyone that knows the TOEFL exam, if you've heard of it. TOEFL exam is the test of English as a foreign language for people to go to college. So I scored, I think, 812 the first time, and that was very high due to this man. In any case, cooking. You know, I talk sometimes and I'm like between one subject to another. I don't do that to disillusion you, but because I have so much stuff going on in my life that I'm so proud of going through that. The English was to be mastered. Cannot be simple English. Me no pepper today, me no understand you. That doesn't work. And if I have to live here, I have to learn it. If I have kids, I have to communicate with them. If I got married to somebody, I need to know what she thinks and what I think. It's very important. Language is very important. Communication is very important. So mastering the language was the first priority for me. I had to work hard. Then places I was working at, I got very frustrated washing dishes. I wanted to go to the next level. You know, I can't just peel potatoes all the time. To make story short for you, I was selected 1987, one of the top chefs in Washington. The gentleman that was the MC for the evening, he said, I've seen you somewhere. I took the microphone from his hand to introduce myself, and I said, he's a master chef, Jacques Blanc, who was probably one of the pioneers in the French restaurants in DC. And I see someone nodding their heads and they may remember.
I took one of his classes.
From Jacques Blanc, Sea Catch restaurant. Yep. He looked at me and he goes, I do see you, I hear you, I remember you, but I can't remember where. And I said, I am the person that 10 years ago was peeling potatoes for you at Chez Grand-Mère. And he said, oh, I remember you now, Samir. So the crowd was applauding. Here's somebody that came in, didn't speak English, was peeling potatoes, and now he's one of the 10 top chefs in DC. I did repeat that because I wanted so bad to get to the next level, which is like a Michelin star if I ever could. 87, 89, 2 years later, again, the committee that does the chef from the Chefs Association selected me again as one of the 10 top chefs in DC. Cooking was always close to my heart. I mean, I can close my, you take me to a kitchen, I close my eyes, after 5 minutes I'll make you a meal. Not to brag about it, but it's just because I love everything about the food, the aspect of cooking and everything else.
Do you get that from your mother?
From my mom. Then I have to tell you, my wife was also, or my ex-wife was also a big contributor to this. She said, Samir, we have a restaurant now. Remember, at this 1986 was the opening of Casablanca restaurant. I opened that restaurant, I was 25. Okay. That is probably, for the folks that lived in Virginia would know, Casablanca was probably the largest diner room with 5,000 square feet. Huge restaurant. I can probably have anywhere between 200 to 300 easily a night. I mean, it was a fantastic place. Anyone that remember the Washington Post, Phyllis Richmond, she wrote an article about us for the restaurant, and we were hacked for 3 months. You cannot come in, you have the reservation for 3 months. Those were the days where people actually read the Washington Post. Now people don't even read. So, very unfortunate. Anyway, when we start getting reviewed and I've started getting to be famous and amongst the best chefs, there was one thing missing here, one piece, Stan. The missing piece, and I wish you allowed me to do my presentation on the PowerPoint because that's what I was going to show to the folks, which is all the stuff that I have achieved now that I'm talking about in actual writing. If I had to take my reviews from the Washington Post, Washington Times, the magazines from the area of Northern Virginia, Maryland, I probably will cover all these walls here with articles. But that is not really what I wanted to say. What I want to say is someone pushed me, said, look, you've achieved here when it comes to publicity and public, but you are still here when it comes to the actual school knowledge. So I had to go to l'Académie de Cuisine, 2 years, and the first day I walked in, I wanted to meet the director, and he said, Samir, right? And I said, yes. He said, yeah, we work together. This is the director of the school. We work together. He said, no. Why are you here? I'm here because I wanted to get a degree in culinary arts. He said, I have a proposition for you. You will earn your degree, but you'll only come to the theory classes. I cannot have you in the practicals because you're gonna really put some people to shame, unfortunately. He said, because you do know so much, and it's not gonna be fair to the students. I have to do what's fair. He gave me a good deal of, 2 for 4, whatever. So, or 4 for 2. There you go. I did really well with that because that degree has helped me tremendously, Stan. The next level from that, I was invited by the dean of the Baltimore Culinary College to teach culinary art. So the restaurant was doing well, family was running it down. You have to remember that. I'll come back to this. And I was famous. You couldn't even have a minute with me and have a cup of coffee because I was way up here. The chef of the chefs. I mingle with all this, big shots in DC. Anyway, that was a mistake. Because I tell you, I made a lot of great things. I also made mistakes. When you hang out with the big guys and they just, what is the word? They do a lot of smoke, whatever. So they do that and your ego becomes this big. If somebody would approach me and say, food was salty, and I say, are you taking medication lately? No, something like that. So to become pompous and egoistic happens because you're pushed to be at this level. I had to humble myself. So the Baltimore Culinary College was the perfect place for me to be because I was with students that were eager to learn the basics of things. So I taught for about 8.5 years, while at the same time working for Children's Hospital as a director for nutrition service. Make it very short for you as far as where I've been. Children's Hospital, Washington Hospital Center, the largest hospital in DC. I opened up the VIP wing. This is in the late 80s, late 80s, early 90s. I opened up the VIP wings, which is some foreign dignitaries, when they just have a little cold, they come and they stay there. And we offer them champagne, lobster, and all this stuff. And I was responsible for that wing because of the languages, number one. Number two, I was a chef, and I could go wrong. Then when I became the director, it's even better. Well, I received one princess, because I don't want to mention her name in this. One princess I received one time, she was having a cold. She came in with her 18 people as an entourage. True. We had the whole wing packed. We made so much money from her for that 1 week, but she actually also she wrote a check to Children's Hospital, because Children's Hospital and Washington Hospital are very close to each other. Children's Hospital got a check for $7 million as a donation for the hard work we did. I tell you, I am very fortunate to really went through all the stages from here to here. Of course, my family, when they lost this big, huge piece of land and revived again and started working, taught me in life that you can never just fall down and stay there. You fall down, pick it up, and you go get it. And you make it anywhere you want. Somebody asked me the other day, Samir, don't leave us. And I said, I wouldn't, I promise you, I won't leave here. If I was pushed, yeah, that's a different story. If I'm pushed out, I will. But I wouldn't miss it because between here and Wesley Chapel, I'll find another job. Not because I'm that lucky, no, because I will go and humble myself at any restaurant. And the first question I'll say, do you have a job opening? I don't say, I'm a chef, I am this, I'm that. No, do you have a job opening? And I'll take whatever they have. Because my family comes first when it comes to feeding family.
Have your children absorbed the culture and history of their grandparents and you and gone back to Europe and such?
Absolutely. I think, Stan, this is a very good question. Thank you for asking that question. We come, we invest in life, but the best investment is our children. My children have, from day one, have been taught to learn about their heritage, about their culture, how to be kind, how to mix and mingle with all other cultures, and how to learn from everyone, with no exceptions. That is like the first lesson. Then I take him to Morocco and Spain so they can see the heritage. For the folks that travel to Morocco, they'll understand clearly what I'm talking about now, because when you are, let's say, in Marrakesh, as an example, that is a city that would, if you go today, it will take you back to the 14th century. It is built just like palaces from the 14th century. By the way, just a little note here, no publicity. If you ever go into Marrakesh, I'll give you my keys. I have a little palace there. So, and in any case, I think if you travel to the north, again, you're going to see a lot of Spanish heritage. If you travel inland, in the mountains, you're going to see the Bedouins and you're going to see the people from the Sahara, which is also another fascinating culture. So, one fact that people don't know, Morocco is the first country to recognize United States independence. Do you know that? Most people don't know that. Please Google that when you go home and check. The Emperor of Morocco, he was the first person who George Washington signed the first declaration. Okay? So Morocco's influence in the United States as a historical makeup is fantastic. Secondly, if you are in Charleston, South Carolina, and you're sitting somewhere in heaven, just a cup of coffee, and look across the water, straight line to Casablanca, within 6.5 hours flight. People don't connect that. When they say Morocco, it sounds exotic. Oh my God, Morocco! It's right around the corner. So, aside from a lot of things that are geopolitically even better now, and relationship with Morocco and the United States has probably been the longest relation, never broken since the independence.
Have you taken your children to Morocco and home?
Absolutely. That's what I was talking about earlier, Stan. You know, did you take a medication today? All right. No, I take my kids to Morocco. I should say my children. Kids is baby goats, right? So I take my listen, Curtis is going like this. I take my children to Morocco very often, whenever I can. They also travel on their own. They're grown, you know. They travel on their own to Morocco. They have a home there. Like I said, they'll give you the keys. You can go. I have beautiful home. The car is in the parking. You have a maid. When you get there, she can cook all the food for you, do all your ironing and everything else. So you guys sign up. Anyway, no, it's really a good question that people sometimes, when they go to a culture, they forget about the heritage, and that's something that shouldn't be. I still teach my kids the heritage, which is the background, where they come from, what languages are spoken. They all speak the same language. They all know what I understand. The reason I'm saying this, Stan, is because I don't want him to only understand 50% of my brain, which is the English side. What happened with the Moroccan, French, and all this stuff. I want him to know everything. Make sense?
Yeah. How did you come to St. Pete?
Oh.
Of course, you live up north.
Way up north. I make a heck of a drive. Yesterday it took me 2.5 hours to get home, but nonetheless, I called all my friends overseas, and it's given me peace of mind before I get there. But my wife is, or was always looking for, where do we want to retire? We're going to do 6 months in Morocco and 6 months in the States. We have our home in Morocco. We don't have a home in the States. I mean, I have a little home in Virginia, but I wouldn't want to retire there. But no. So we decided to buy a home in Wesley Chapel. And it was just by coincidence. We came for Christmas time with my in-laws. They were talking, and I said, it's a beautiful home you got here. And my brother-in-law said, well, you know what? I can call the realtor tomorrow. She can talk to you. She talked to my wife the next day. And guess what happened the third day? They were looking at places. What happened a week later after we got there? We had to fly back and come here and sign the documents. We got the place. More of the story, I'm glad actually I did. Because first, I love the area. I love Florida. It's beautiful. I love the people. And that's what I find very, very interesting. The people here are very calm. Maybe just here. I don't know. And seriously. Because if you are in the metro in DC, you will be bumped, pushed, shoved in every corner. It's just like you being in the metro in New York. Same way. But I feel that people here are helpful. They are very nice. They're very down to earth. I want to retire among this kind of people, which is good. So this is kind of like a forward thinking for a retirement.
Have you spent much time in the restaurants in New York?
Oh my God, in New York. At one point, when I was working for Restaurant Associates, I had a bunch of restaurants that I was in charge of. I'll start with DC, the Kennedy Center. I was in charge of the food services at the Kennedy Center. And I would fly to New York. I had Cucina, which is in the middle of Manhattan. Then I had Tavern in the Green, Rainbow Room. Those restaurants, they were all under my territory for audits, as well as the museums, the History Museum, Midlife Building, Sony. Those were all my territory for it. I mean, I'm saying this, and you're probably thinking, this guy is probably 200 years old. No, I did these things. And it's a fact, and Stan, you could have seen all that in my presentation. So it's all right.
I'll give you a second presentation. Did your life go like you planned?
I believe that God designed my life. And I believe that I am not going to go against His design. And I believe that every day is a beautiful day and what you make out of it. I also believe that I work very hard for what I do every day. And I've always seen positive results because of the way my parents brought me up. You have to believe and you have to work hard at something, and you will achieve what you want at the end of the day.
Do you do the cooking at home?
Yes, I remember. I told you that's what my wife married me for. She loves my cooking. She talks about it all the time. And the simplest thing, she came to tease me about 2 weeks ago. She said, Samir, that soup you made was fantastic. I wish you could do another one again. Yeah. You know, so I did. I made another soup, and she said, oh, you see, we miss your cooking. Since you started this place, you don't cook anymore. Which is true. Since I've been here, I'm not home enough to cook. The weekends, I'm very tired, so I work around the yard, do things in the garage, take my daughter to learn how to drive, things of that nature. But life is beautiful. I think it's what you make out of it. I would love to cook more often for her and for the family. When my daughter gets here, since we get a large family gatherings, I am the one in charge of all the buffets and cooking and making paella for 40 people, things of that nature. So,
Do you like it here at St. Peter's?
I knew it was being tricky.
Westminster. Westminster.
Okay, Westminster. Do I like it? I wanted to say I love it. And let me tell you why. There's no crazy person in the world that will drive for all the drive to come here if they didn't like what they do. I love what I do. I love the people here. They make a big difference, seriously. And this is not to, just to say it. This is true. I love the people here because they make it for me. They give me that initiative in my heart to wake up. Do you know what time I woke up this morning? At 4:15. Okay? Because we had a meeting here that was supposed to be at 7 o'clock in the morning. If it takes an hour and a half, you would think, so between the time I take shower, between the time I get in the car, get my coffee and drive, not coffee, but tea, anyway, I don't drink coffee. I have my tea in my hand and I'm driving here. It is actually worth it, because when I get here, it's not the drive, it's not the hardship, it's not anything, but the people make it. I meet John every day. I see John, for instance, and I talk to him. Hey, John, how are you? How is your life? How is everything? How are you feeling? How is your health? First thing I ask. And he tells me. So you build that camaraderie with that person. And that's what makes it. Now, I talk to Curtis even jokingly. Hey, professor, what can we say? We do this, we do that. Because I call him professor. So we joke around. I'm going to be quiet, okay?
Don't tell too much.
No, I won't. Yeah, and I know I'm on camera. But remember, first rule when I moved here, somebody said, tell me one of your characteristics. I said, I'm very transparent. No hidden agendas. And I meet everyone here has a part of me to motivate me to come here. That's important. Because if I wasn't motivated by Miss Miller, by Sarah, by my friend over there, the southern lady right there, she tells me about all her southern cooking. So, if I don't, I wouldn't be here. I think you make it happen. I think your welcoming and your hospitality, it is fantastic. Seriously. I went to your home the other day and I felt, oh my God, it's like I felt at home. That is awesome. How many people will take you to their home? Just say, hey, come on, this is where I live. Come and see where I live. That was nice of you. So, not that I want to make it habit and go to people's homes, but I think somebody genuinely just said, hey, come on in, this is where I live. Oh, okay, that's where you live. But to me, if they open their door, remember, rule number one, when I grew up in hospitality. So when I see hospitality through here, I feel at home. I don't know if that answers your question.
I think it's been a great ride.
Thank you.
We have questions from the floor. There we go.
Out of sheer curiosity, because we probably will never know anyone with your experience, can you give a little input on the difference between, private dining service and public dining service? That being a place like us versus your private restaurant.
Okay. Let me give you an example, and I'll say this candidly without having to put any parameters around it. The difference between my restaurant and here. My restaurant, I would get up early, go to the stores, shop, cook, prepare, put all the stuff in shelves, in fridges and freezers and everything, and go like this and open the door and tell my wife to stand up front and smile and greet people as they come in, because we need those folks to come here. That's one example. Here, I am coming here. You need me, so I'm here. A difference. The first one is I need the folks to come into my restaurant. This place here, you need me to be here. So the need is a little different. However, my motivation for what I do is stronger. The motivation that I had on the first one is money motivated. For here is heartfelt appreciation for coming to you.
And taking care of us.
Yes. Seriously.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
It's the bird. The bird.
What's wrong with the bird?
Nothing. Well, I don't know. I haven't looked.
Okay, Shakespeare.
What are some of your specialties?
Okay, I love, because of the nature of my life, I love, of course, the Moroccan cooking. Moroccan cooking for me is probably number one when it comes to health. 2, French cooking. And 3, health cooking. All those 3.
And last is what, health?
Health cooking. Now, one thing that also I didn't mention, because I only mentioned my degree in culinary art. I have a degree in nutrition, and I have also a degree in brain longevity specialist. I'm a specialist. And that by itself is worth a lot, for me at least. The menu that we have here, every once in a while, is this on camera?
I can turn it off.
I involve ingredients to continue your life, in a sense. I care. That's the reason I come, because I care. You are inspiring me here, therefore I'm going to put every 2 seconds of my life into here.
From your last name, you're partially Italian.
Mhm.
You have some Italian heritage.
Yeah,
How's your Italian cooking?
fantastic. Fantastic. Seriously. I probably, I know it'd be a competition between me and Jerome, who's also Italian, you know that. And that's the reason we get along. So, with Jerome, probably you could be a fantastic combination and fantastic fight. Now, don't judge me with the Italian cooking from the Italian stuff that you receive here in the dining room. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. Yes.
Let's dream a little bit. If you had your wildest imagination at play, what would be the best vacation or the best experience that you would have in retirement?
Seriously?
Yep. Seriously.
And I'm not kidding. This is recorded because it's
Oh,
recorded.
that's right.
Yeah. So since it's recorded, I'm gonna say it. If there was a wish that I could do, I'd have the biggest ship and have all this crowd with me and take you across the ocean to Morocco.
Thank you.
Love it. Yes, ma'am.
What is classic Moroccan cooking? What is the difference? For
Yes.
example?
Morocco has, I would say, regional cooking. There's no such thing as classic, because all of it is classical, but it's regional. The northern part, south, east, west, totally different as far as the spices used. So for instance, the spices used all in Morocco together as a combination to make like kind of a connected dot would be the use of cilantro, a fantastic ingredient for your kidneys. I don't know if you know that or not. Ginger, paprika, olive oil, okay? Those are the main ingredients. And we cook with a lot of olives as well. I know a lot of people don't like olives here, but that's because you tried the olives here. You try the olives in Morocco, it's totally different. When you ask me for what's classical, you'll hear a lot about couscous. Nothing to do with the couscous we have here on the menu. Trust me. You know what I'm going to do? See, you brought me into a problem, and now all it's recorded. I'm going to have to do one dinner that's going to be Moroccan all the way. What's What's that? When? Oh, that's the when part. All right. Any other questions?
And you're on camera.
I know. No, I remember. I record. Remember, longevity programs. I'm a specialist. That's what I record. Yes.
Do your children speak multiple languages?
Absolutely. Yep. Adam, like I said, he teaches in Japan. His first language was English, of course. He was born here. Second language was French. And the third language he taught himself. I have to say this loudly. He taught himself the basics of Japanese language. And then he got an invitation to go for one summer to Okinawa. And guess what? He ended up working there. He's teaching over there now. He teaches in English and Japanese. He could live if he didn't speak it fluently. He's a 6'3", good-looking kid, curly hair, green eyes, nothing like me at all. But he's got one trait from me: stubborn as heck.
What was that?
Stubborn. Yeah, his sister is the opposite. She's not stubborn. She is very versatile, very easygoing. Yes.
None of your children were interested to follow in your footsteps.
I told him to stay away from cooking. Yes, and I'll tell you why. It's a very hard job. It is not rewarding as you may think compared to other jobs. You are just as good as your last meal.
Yeah.
You know, today I'm your friend. I cook a bad meal tonight. Oh, I'll be your enemy tomorrow.
No.
I mean, I know, but all right. I'll take the salad bar and you'll see. So I think to answer that really, frankly, I think we all give something, and I don't want him to give up their life. I want them to enjoy their lives. I want them to participate in every activity their children have. When you work in the restaurant business, you are in the restaurant, your kids are at home. When they're having gatherings, they're having events, they're having something, you are in the restaurant. When somebody need you to teach them, coach them, whatever, you are in the restaurant. Restaurant is very consuming, and that's why I didn't want them in there. I wanted to learn cooking. As a matter of fact, they all know what I do now. And there's a little secret here I want to tell you, but it's okay in camera. I'm not going to tell you. They all know what to do. They're good cooks, fantastic cooks.
And I think many of us like to cook.
Of course.
And others don't.
Yeah. Well, then maybe what I will do one day is probably we'll do a Iron Chef here. Iron Chef. No, it's a competition. We compete. Like, yeah, why not? It's okay. It's gonna be fun. A lot of ha-has.
We did that with the chili cook-off.
Say it again.
We did that with the chili cook-off.
Chili cook-off. Yeah.
And the pie making contest.
Oh yeah. So you can do stuff like that. And I know that you have some good recipes, and you're a good cook. You see, when somebody does this, that's a lie.
Maybe.
I like to cook.
There you go. See, the truth comes out. All
But
right.
it's not necessarily good, but I
No, you're a good cook. You are.
Anyway, I think you were enlightening, and I'm sorry I didn't let you show all your diplomas and
It wasn't about the diplomas, really, but thank you, Stan. Thank you for the invitation. It was more of show and tell. I felt that there are certain things I cannot verbalize that I have, because remember, 42 years in America, how can you condense it into an hour? It's not possible. And if I try to tell what I've been, it's like, how many lives this guy had? But again, it's 40 some years. If I tell you I cooked at the White House, you wouldn't believe it, but I did. So there are things I did that are, for me, they're fortunate that I've been there, and I tell my children about it, and I'm happy. I'm happy to be here, so at least I have an audience to listen to what I've been.
what we'll do is we'll bring you back for a rerun.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's terrific.
Thank you.